Welcome and thank you for joining me as we begin this month's Black History Month video series. This year we are highlighting Black farmers and gardeners here in the Bootheel. My name is Mary Ann Wright and I'm a 4-H area educator and assistant to the regional coordinator for Lincoln University Cooperative Extension. This video series is led by some of the teens who participate in our Lincoln 4-H program. Today's interview is being led by Miss Olivia Taylor.
Hello, I'm Olivia Taylor and I'm a student at Hayti High School, and it's my pleasure to introduce Miss Siedah Suttles. So tell us a little about yourself.
I'm Siedah Suttles. I'm originally from Michigan and I relocated to Hayti about 3 years ago.
Okay. So this year's series is focused on farmers and gardeners, and so what is it that sparks your interest in this area?
Definitely the gardening and just being able to grow my own food, and with all the chemicals and all the poison that they're putting in the food, the pesticides and things like that, it's important to just monitor what you put into your body, and so that's what was the main thing that sparked my interest, was being healthier.
So you mentioned that you were from Michigan. What brought you to Pembroke County?
Well, during COVID, I had the unction to start growing my own food, and like I mentioned before, well, maybe I haven't mentioned, but my goal is to be self-sustainable and to have a homestead. And so during COVID, I got the unction to come down and to purchase some land here in Hayti High, where my family, my dad's family is originally from. And so I came here and purchased some land. My family has land here, and so now I'm cultivating the land so that I can produce our food and have a farmer's market eventually.
Does your family have a history of farming and food?
They do, actually. My grandfather on my mother's side, he was a great farmer, and he produced for a community garden in Michigan. And then my father's grandparents, they were our gardener, or were gardeners here in Hayti.
Oh, that's cool. Did you like plants or things when you were younger?
I did, absolutely. And I love bugs and caterpillars and lizards, and I grew up in Michigan, so we had open fields, that kind of thing, so I was always out in the dirt doing something, catching frogs, catching snakes, just weird stuff. But we didn't really have the opportunity to grow anything there, so it was more so like just outdoorsy and like woodsy.
So how did you learn to be a better grower?
Every time that you grow something, something about it's gonna change. The component of it's gonna change. It could be the wind, it could be less rain that time, but every time you grow, it's just an opportunity to just learn and to just go with the flow.
Did you take any classes or have a mentor?
I did. Olivia Taylor is my mentor here in Pembroke County, and so she has been assisting me with getting classes through Lincoln University, and then also Miss Dawn Jordan has been a big asset to helping me to get information about classes and things where I can learn more about gardening.
So what are some of the benefits you find gardening?
For one, it is therapeutic. When you step out there, well, I don't know, how people like to garden, but me, I'm not used to being in this environment where I can actually get my hands in the dirt, my feet in the dirt. So I'm out there like grounding. I'm taking my shoes off. I'm washing my hair. I'm like letting it drip dry under the sun. And I'm just out there and I'm just taking it all in.
What were some of the biggest obstacles you faced?
Not enough money, not enough time, not having the resources and the help and the equipment that I need so that I can put up fences. The funding has been a big hindrance, and the time.
Being a person of color, do you think it's harder to obtain information about growing?
No, I wouldn't say that it's harder. I would say that there are, from my perspective, I don't see it being promoted. So I think that as a person of color, sometimes we are more influenced by what everybody else is doing versus what we actually decide to do for ourselves. Excuse me. So I don't think that it's promoted, but the information is there if you're looking for it.
Do you think that there's value in what you produce?
Oh, absolutely. There is value in being able to grow your own food. I saw a meme that said, like, when you grow your own food, it's like printing your own money, and I couldn't agree more. Like, absolutely.
So where do you see your operation in 5 years?
In 5 years, I am expecting my farmer's market to be fully functional, and I am expecting to be in a position to where I can educate more women of color and children of color, men of color to do the same thing and to pursue the aspiration of being self-sustainable and to have healthy food.
So as a Black grower, do you feel connected to the soil and the earth?
Absolutely. Like I mentioned before, like just getting out there, being able to to ground. And so for me, this journey has been a spiritual journey. It's been a spiritual awakening. And so identity is something that's real big. And I noticed that for me growing up, I didn't really have an identity. I didn't know who I was, so I was trying on different hats, trying this on, trying that on, which actually worked out to be really beneficial for me in the long run because I'm very well versed in a lot of different things. However, that was a survival tactic. That was not about thriving. That was not about living. That was simply surviving. And so with being in the soil and actually putting my hands in the soil, and it looks like me. When I'm standing outside with my hair all over my head, the trees look like me. They resemble me. And so, I don't know, it was just something about it that it just stirred up something. And I can feel it stirring up right now, but I'm not going to get too excited. But it stirred up something in my spirit that it just released me from like shackles. Yeah.
What are your personal feelings about living off land?
I think it's great. I think that's the best way to be. And I think for me, like I said, I have a spiritual background, so I always look for ways to be one with the Creator. And so when I read my Bible tells me that God created heaven and earth and how He did it, and that there was a garden and He put the man in the garden. He gives the whole layout. And so for me, during COVID, what I found was when I came back to that principle, I found peace. There was like chaos. We all were living through COVID, so we know what happened. We lost a lot of people and things changed drastically for the worse. And so we've just kind of been on that decline since then. And so for me, being able to live off the land is golden. If you can get in there and get your land set up, you don't even need a whole lot of property. You just need a lot. You can put your car there, you can live in your car if you had to. You can grow something in the back, you can start a fire, you can cover it, you can get what you need, and then you can branch out and add on later. So I think that being self-sustainable is the way to go, and I think that that's what the future is going to hold for all of us eventually.
Do you see that lifestyle as being realistic to live in Scott County?
Well, presently, no, because there's a lot of restrictions for small farmers and gardeners, and so we're running into a lot of red tape when we're wanting to have our chickens so that we can have organic food that we're actually farming and producing here in Scott County. And so we're running into a lot of red tape when it comes to being able to have our animals. We're not allowed to have chickens, we're not allowed to have bees, we're not allowed to have goats or anything that would be able to help us to keep ourselves and our families self-sustainable. And so it's just running into a lot of the red tape. And so ideally, if you were wanting to have this type of lifestyle, you would have to buy land or property further away from the redlining and the red tape. But my goal is to get a lot of people involved in gardening and farming to where it's something that we're going to need. And so instead of me just myself pushing against the red tape, it'll be the community supporting and pushing beneath, and that would give more momentum to that project. And I think it would also motivate the youth to promote change when there's restrictions, to see what can be done to override certain things that may be outdated.
Why do you think there are not more people of color in agriculture positions?
I think the identity. I think a lot of us, people that look like us, were brought to this country and we were told that we were slaves. And so when we look at gardening or picking cotton or farming, it's a stigma to where we don't want to be associated with that because we haven't addressed the issue that's really underlying. And so what I want to say is that we were never slaves, we were enslaved, and there's a difference. And so I think that the youth particularly and other people of color choose not to garden because it's kind of that elephant in the room, and it makes them uncomfortable, and they haven't addressed the issue as to why they're uncomfortable with it, but it stems back to slavery.
Why would you encourage the youth to pursue agriculture professions or gardening as a hobby?
I would say because it's therapeutic, and it gives them the opportunity to just be one and center with the Creator without distractions, and it gives them the opportunity to see what other interests that they may have, because they can sit out there and they can see the birds and they can see the bees and they can kind of see the way that nature naturally does what it does. And so it'll give them the inspiration to do whatever they're naturally inclined to do versus being distracted or influenced by other negative things.
Are there specific things that you do to be a role model for the African American youth?
Yes, for me, I would say it's the way I carry myself as a young lady, because I want to make sure that when other young ladies see me, that they have a representation that's different than everybody else, and they're okay with being modest, they're okay with being covered, they're okay with being black, they're okay with being ugly, you know, so they're just okay with that stigma that comes with being black. And so black is beautiful. There's nothing ugly about black. So I think that me just being able to be comfortable in my own skin is something that the younger generation can look up to.
This is Black History Month. Is there anything else you would like to share regarding your feelings of being a person of color in agriculture or in our community in general?
No, other than I'm happy to be here, and then as you know, this is the time to start the seedlings and figure out what you're gonna do for the garden. So that's my next step, is to just figure out what it is that I'm going to produce this year or this season, and then just go from there. So thanks for having me, and you did a great job.
Thank you for joining me today. This is one video in a series featuring black farmers and gardeners in the Bootheel. Be sure to visit the Pemiscot County 4-H Facebook page and the Bootheel 4-H YouTube channel for additional videos and more information about the 4-H.